Hello and welcome to the Cybersecurity Insider. Here with me again. It's the Cybersecurity episode 20. So thank you for watching and joining. Hope you'll like it. Please make sure to subscribe, share and subscribe, and put any comments below the video. If it's a social media, put your comments also below the post, and we'll be happy to take any kind of feedback that you may have. You want to hear something else, we'll be happy to have your subject on our schedule. Okay, so again, I have with me my my guest, Seth. How are you,
Hello.
Seth? What's going on?
I'm good, man. How you? I'm good. Everything's good.
Okay, excellent. I'm happy that everything is good. So we'll get started with our next item, which is, can you guess what we're going to talk about?
What are we going to talk? We're going to talk about the oil company.
You are the man. Yes. Colonial pipeline ransomware attack. And after, okay. So a couple of things, interesting things. So the CEO went to the Senate and had the testimony from the senators. So they asked him what happened. So he said, well, we invested $200 million over the past 5 years. So they asked him, how much did you invest in cybersecurity alone? So he kept repeating the same answer, 200 millions. But then later on, the company spokesman said, I don't know, another number that they invested, but the 200 millions actually included the cybersecurity initiatives. So they asked him, what happened there? And he said, well, they were able to access a VPN account with a password with no MFA, without second factor authentication. Mm-hmm. But then he added another interesting. He said, but it was not, the password was not Colonial 1234. It was a complex password. Your thoughts here?
I think he's lying.
Okay, tell us why. Well, what do you think?
Well, you tell me he spent 200 million on what? Did he, you know what I mean? Did he just buy a bunch of routers and switches and a bunch of, secure, firewalls and that? What did he spend it on? He didn't spend it on training, obviously, because somebody didn't do two multi-factor authentication.
I don't know, but so let's assume that whatever he says is the true. Okay. So from what he says, I can understand a few things. One, yes, they didn't enable MFA. Also, I think the two-factor authentication, 2FA, I'm sorry, and also from that I can understand, and I saw somewhere, because I'm still reading the news, and the statements from the different sources, and they said, the attackers were already inside the organization, which is, I think it's definitely, we can consider it as a high valid claim, as we already know. And also that the fact that they didn't use, they use complex password without two-factor authentication tells me another thing, that if they were already on the network, they possibly were able to capture the password, okay, by like a phishing attack, like spear phishing attack maybe, right? So they send an email to the few people there in the organization, and you can do it easily these days, and they got the password. So maybe they were able to install like a keylogger, collect the password, and then authenticate. Another thing, he tells me that they don't have any kind of monitoring and detection mechanisms. So let's say you have a problem with your defense mechanisms, but not able to detect it. This is another point. And then, of course, we go to remediation. Maybe they also had some issues with that. Now, I saw another piece that they said that the VPN that we were using, it was a legacy VPN. So legacy can be very, very broad term, but maybe it's a VPN that they cannot enable 2FA. that's maybe the case. So this is kind of interesting thing to mention. But also I want to mention another thing that the U.S. Department of Justice by the FBI were able to recover. So they paid close to $5 million. So they said the total amount was 4.4. So the FBI was able to recover 2.3. Now, the difference between the amounts is because the Bitcoin has lost from its value when they paid and when they were able to recover. That's why you have so it's about 60-70% were able to recover. So in this case, I just want to mention that if you're suffering from a ransomware, you should talk to the FBI and early on and make sure that they can help you to recover the funds in case you decide to pay. And then that CEO was criticized why he paid the ransom. And so what other choice did he have? What other choices? If we won't pay, we won't be able to recover the systems because there's a problem with the backups, right? This is another issue that we see.
Right.
They have a problem with the backup, so now they cannot go back to business as soon as possible. So they spent $200 million, but they didn't do what they needed to do. I don't know. I have no idea. We don't have visibility into it, and this is unfortunate. So, what do you say?
Well, he goes to the other thing. I happened to look up one of the articles I was looking at earlier, and similar to what you were saying, they were able to compromise the password. My thing is they were able to get to the VPN because it's a remote access. My point is did everybody have access to everything with remote access? Because isn't there like supposed to be granular and authentication of who gets what and where? You know what I mean? Like if you're just somebody who works in accounting, why would you have access to the servers in the back remotely?
Right. Yeah, you should.
And
you limit the access to a specific point. Yes.
So if let's say they compromised an IT password, okay, so like you said, they don't have anything there, no type of defense system that's looking at things and seeing, okay, this account has never logged in over here. Why is it logging in there? You know what I mean? There's a lot of little things that they didn't do. But one of the things is that they're saying that some of the accounts, there's reports that some of the accounts from the company have been used. They use the same password on other accounts that are previously been breached. So that means they're not out there looking at breached passwords and validating if they're still good.
Well, that brings another point to your point that you need to disable unused accounts in at minimum. Okay, if those accounts are not being used, so let's say an employee left the company, you need first to disable the account, wait for a while maybe, and then delete the account. If you can safely delete the account and don't have an access. Or if you want to keep the account, make sure to change at least the password. But again, not to use 2FA, not maybe, and that VPN, legacy VPN system, maybe it had some sort of kind of vulnerability that we don't know. So this is kind of the things that, like simple stuff, again, we are, it reminds me again with the Equifax or Target or all those companies, they keep being breached, but they don't touch really the basics in security. I don't understand. You have all that money, but you don't do the right things. But this really kills me.
If he said he spent $200 million over 5 years, right? Is that what you said earlier?
Yes.
I don't believe it, because obviously they didn't do any assessment, like yearly assessments on themselves, do any penetration testing.
Well, they need to do every quarter maybe, or maybe every month, I would say, because you have so critical infrastructure there. A lot of people, millions of people are dependent in your services. How come you don't do your due diligence and check your system on a monthly basis? Okay, you can't do monthly. Do it this quarterly. Do an audit. Check the accounts.
Right. And one of the biggest things is to make sure that people are following the rule of not using passwords more than once anywhere in your system or anywhere on the internet. because you could actually look for breached passwords nowadays. They, the guy who made I've Been Pawned has created that database
Right.
that and there's a lot of products that use it already, and they're
Right.
that you can integrate into your authentication, whether it's Active Directory or whatever you authenticate to. It actually integrates into that, and the minute they put a password in, it automatically checks it to see if it's been breached.
Yeah, actually, there was a dump of I read it somewhere yesterday.
Yeah, there's always a dump lately.
Yeah, but this dump is really big, and I'm trying to find it now. That was from yesterday or the day before. Yeah, I think I'll find it. I don't know, maybe. Okay. Anyway, it was a big dump, huge dump of passwords, and probably some of the passwords there are already old or have changed, but a lot of them probably still in use. But this one really was really big. Big database that was just released a while ago.
And here's the other thing: so they're able to break through, and yet they're not isolating their backups. We've always isolated. I know in a lot of places that I worked at, which was one of the best things that I've seen, we isolated the backups on its own VLAN. So and only certain traffic could go across it. So if you get hacked, they can't go across the backup network to do anything.
Yeah, you need to segment the backup network. Yes, exactly.
Right, and so that keeps your backups from getting any type of any breach or any type of ransomware or anything on it. But then also the backups themselves have to be checked on a periodic basis, whatever it is, weekly, whatever, to make sure that you're not backing up something that has ransomware in it or any type of, so a lot of company, think of Dado does it. A lot of the big boys do it. I'm like, you supposedly spent $200 million and you're not making sure, because ultimately if you have your backups, then literally you could restore within a day or two, let's say a week. They would have never had to pay the money.
Yeah, well, to recover so much data, you're gonna need not a day. You're gonna need to have it a few days. But I would say even longer. Probably 2 to 3 weeks. I think this is more reasonable time to do the recovery because. And think again, if you have a backups on the cloud, it's probably going to take longer until you pull all the data from the cloud. It's going to take longer, but you need to have also local backups.
Companies, right? But if you have it local, but those companies will send you out a hard drive if you want. They'll usually overnight it to you. Yes, remember, all this is covered under your cybersecurity, and that's one of the biggest things is that when it comes to restoring and recovery, all that delivering and all that other stuff is going to be covered. So sending out those hard drives, even if they have to send it 10, let's say you have 10 different locations, so you have to send 10 hard drives out so that you can recover locally because you can't trust the server that's there. So you want to wherever the data is at, you don't want to trust it. So you restore clean from backup. They just send out the drives.
Right, and do clean restore, yes, and rebuild the machine from scratch, yes.
And if you do it in 10 different locations, I don't know how big this company is in a sense, how many sites they have, but if they would have done it, they could have a lot of their major infrastructure could have been restored within a few days, and then they could have went on and did all the administrative stuff and all the other stuff afterwards. So over a week or two, they could have gotten everything up and running.
Right.
They were down for what? Almost a week?
No, I think longer.
Right. So it makes no sense that you don't invest in the segmentation of your backup network, in your backup, your whole plan itself. That disaster recovery plan is the key so that you don't have to spend $4 million on these idiots and sending them, Bitcoin or something.
Right. Yeah, for almost close to $5 million. Yes.
That makes no sense.
Yes. Well, yeah, if you don't have a backup, it makes sense to pay because you want to put your system
Right.
back in place, and you lose business as well all at the same time. But maybe this year will need to step down, including the CISO and the CIO. This is what happened with the what that company now? I forget the name. Equifax.
Right.
Those guys had to go. All the C-level had to go. Okay, so let's switch gears. I think we spent
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes talking about
Oh, I
that.
think the one that you just saw was $8.4 billion entries. 8.4 billion entries. That's the one that happened
Oh,
on
there, yes, the database. Yeah,
June
it's
8th.
called, yeah, ROQ 2021, it's called. I
Yeah.
just saw it, yeah. ROQ 2021, yeah. This is a large dump that was just released.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
8.4 billion entries.
Yes, 100 gigabyte of text files that contains 8.4 billion entries of password, which have presumably been combined from previous data leaks and breaches. Maybe it's like a big list that's what I understand, that was combined from other lists, so that now they have one place to find all the passwords. So I'll make it even easier for hackers. You know, why not help them?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch gears to, let's see if you'll know. Can you guess?
Which one? No, I don't. There's so many. There's so many things half the time I don't know which thing is important right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm trying. Yeah, VMware. Okay, so VMware vCenter. Apparently, what I see, threat actors are targeting unpatched VMware vCenter and Cloud Foundation software. VMware has,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Can you just turn it off the phone?
Yeah,
If
I
you
did.
will?
I
And
just
I'm
did.
going to turn off my phone as well at the same time. Okay, so, okay, so let's go back. Threat actors are targeting unpatched VMware vCenter and Cloud Foundation software. So again, and VMware has released patches. You can find it in KB 83829. So what are the mitigations? So as far as I can tell, if you have a vCenter that's exposed to the internet, make sure not to expose it directly to the internet, use a VPN, use a jump box.
Is it that kind of like redundant? If your vCenter isn't exposed to the internet, who exposes their vCenter to the internet?
I don't know.
Is that like a procedure that they're saying, hey, on this circumstance, don't do it? I'm like, okay, we shouldn't do that in general.
Yes, but you know, these days, even the obvious, you need to say not to do even the obvious. Okay, don't do that because it's not the right way to do it. That's why I said, if you want to expose the vCenter, use a VPN or a jump box. Yes, you can do it, but do it the proper way. That's all. That's it.
I'm just saying,
I didn't say.
exposed to the internet. I just like reading these things, and I'm like, am I missing something here? I'm like, you shouldn't be doing that already.
Yeah, well,
Just it wouldn't be able to get hacked if it was behind a bunch of firewalls.
well, it's not about so much about the firewall. Again, if you remember, we need to have some sort of detection, but also had
Right.
very good protection mechanisms or
What I'm
defense
saying is
mechanisms.
multiple layers of security in general.
Exactly, the onion approach.
Right.
Onion approach.
And they need to validate those things. And like we said, only certain people or IPs should be able to get into the jump box, and from the jump box, only certain IPs should get to the servers.
Exactly.
And for whatever reason, just because you have access to the network, there should be some type of tiered system of who gets to what. And most users, all users, have no reason to be on any server directly.
Yes.
Unless you heard of something different.
No, but apparently those guys, they do it differently. So I don't know.
I guess, man. I guess. I don't know. Sometimes I'm bewildered. Like,
and don't forget to patch. Hey, Don't forget
Exactly.
to patch your systems, okay? This is one important piece. Don't forget to patch.
I read a book from 2007. If you would have just taken the dates out, it sounded like it was last week. It was a cybersecurity thing on make sure this, make sure that. Oh, this is a concern. You have this. And I'm like, this has been going on since 2008 at least in this book. Like, and we
Well,
still haven't gotten it. And they still haven't gotten it.
yeah, no, we don't. You know, also what bothers me really that they always blame the Chinese and the Russians. I mean, yes, it's
It's easy
absolutely.
boogeyman.
But what about you?
Right.
The companies, the US companies, all those IT guys, all those CISO, CIO, CTO, CEOs, spend the money, do the basic stuff. You don't need to be, but everybody is a CISO, the CTO, you know, all those CCCC, but nobody does anything. Everybody are managers, but nobody does anything.
Well, that's the reality is that they say they're spending the money, and it's a lot of cases they show it on paper, but it's not coming up in the end product because then if you have multi-level systems, you know, then it would show in the end product because they would not be successful. But somehow, and we're saying, okay, let me rephrase that. It would take a lot of work on their part to get in. Right now, they get in because some idiot didn't change his password, or you know, they didn't put multi-factor authentication, like all the basics. Like you go a list of 20 things they should do. Oh, they didn't do 19 of them. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Oh, they didn't do 18 of them. You know, like, okay, how can we, you know, solve these problems if you're not even doing the first 20?
Well, don't do the first 20, just do 3.
Okay, can we do the first 5 important ones?
Exactly. Patch.
But they're not doing that.
That's what
And
I'm
this is all
saying.
I'm
They don't do
saying.
anything. Yeah.
It's like they're spending this money and they don't even know that, you know, somebody put in poopsie 1, 2, 3. You know? Or solar wind 1, 2, 3, 4, you know.
Yeah, that's why the CEO of Colonial Pipeline said, well, wasn't Colonial 1, 2, 3, 4? Like I said, no, we are not SolarWinds. We are not. We are a little bit better. We had the complex password, but it was breached. Who cares?
Right.
Who cares if the password was complex? Do you care if the password was complex? No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't care if somebody robs me with a knife or a gun. It's still robbed, right?
Yeah. It took you a penny or took $100. It's still the same. It's still, yeah.
They still got robbed. And it's like, just because so they robbed you in broad daylight versus the middle of the night in the corner. You still got robbed.
Exactly. Okay, and by the way, we're gonna have a hard stop because I have like in 10 minutes we're gonna need to wrap up. So, the last thing about this vCenter, the VMware, it doesn't require any authentication. This is interesting. No authentication. So if the vCenter is exposed to the internet, you don't need to authenticate. So of course you need to restrict devices access to certain IPs or sources in order to make sure that you can have it. So have a VPN with the restrictions, with authentication, and you should be fine. And don't forget to patch.
I think one of the things, and we should do a show on this, I literally think, and it sounds like the most stupidest thing ever, but I think we should do a show on patching and password management.
Okay. You prepare the schedule. I'm going to hand you the leadership, Mr. Seth, and you're going to prep that for us for next time, for our next session.
Fine.
Maybe tomorrow you want to do it, so we can do it tomorrow. What do you say?
I've got enough articles that I've written about it for a long time that I could just go and pull those articles and we could do a show on it.
So let's do it. Let's do it.
Fine.
Let's do it.
It's just passwords and patching. That's it.
Okay. I'm with you. Okay.
And people think it's just simple patching. I'm at password management. I have a deeper understanding of how we can do that. But all right, go ahead.
Okay. So I think it's going to be our last item on the list. And as you know, I have a lot here.
Never changes.
Okay. Yeah. So let me present it. Okay, Siloscape Malware targets Windows containers. Okay, people probably don't know what is container. Container is like a small, very small, teeny resource as a
Virtual
it's like a
machine.
virtual machine, exactly.
Right.
That you can spin it in a second, it does something, and then you can shut it down and move on. So it helps you basically to manage resources better. So you have a big host, and then you can run a lot of containers,
Like
but you can run those
applications.
containers, yeah, and that contain, yeah, yes, exactly, applications, anything else, application, whatever, but you spin them based on the need. So let's say you need more resources to serve requests, but it does it automatically. So there you have a lot of automation.
So
So
if anybody knows anything about Docker or Kubernetes, it's
exactly,
the same thing. It's just Windows version of the same thing of these containers. They're
exactly,
isolated slivers of resources for specific applications or any type of other processing you're doing.
exactly. So here's the thing. A researcher at Palo Alto Networks, Unit 42, has discovered the first known malware that targets Windows containers. So this is what it says. Siloscape is heavily obfuscated malware targeting Kubernetes clusters through Windows containers. Its main purpose is to open a backdoor into poorly configured Kubernetes clusters. And the next page, in order to run malicious containers. Okay, so we can spin more containers within that containers. I guess this is the case. So what do you say?
My thing is once again access. It's like, okay, that may be a problem. That could be a major problem. How does it get in, and how does it get how does it get launched? That's the biggest thing. It's like, I could put a diamond in a glass case, like, oh, that's not secure. But if it's in the middle of the house behind gates and walls and it makes it difficult for them to get to it. And it's the same thing, like what we were joking about before. VMware Center should be connected to the net, straight to the internet. A lot of these problems happen is because of the access that people are giving. Not everyone should have access to the back end where the containers are. Not all IT should have access. The guy who does your desktop support should never have access to any of that. So I think there's a tiered system problem here and access problem. And I think that's the biggest issue that we need to deal with. Because yes, there are a lot of issues that are out there with different products, but if they have no access, they can't initiate it.
Well, it says here, well, it's a bit more technical, but it says that the exploit starts by leveraging a known vulnerabilities in running containers, then impersonates as a service to obtain certain privileges using undocumented NTLM NTLM
Right. That means somebody has to have run something
personate thread call. Okay, then they go about the global symbolic link and all of that.
right, but that
And
means
then it
somebody
says,
had to have got access to that server to run
yes,
that.
on initially, yeah. But well, if it's exposed to the internet, it's possible that you'll have
Right.
some sort of a way to get in.
But
So
once
then
again, your container should not be exposed to the internet directly.
yeah, which should be firewall, but you have a firewall that it not necessarily will prevent something, but at least you have good defense mechanism. And then they go and talk about that export does not require admin privileges to be successful. The backdoor uses a Tor client to connect to an Onion C2 server, verify your container image update process to ensure that patches are deployed in your running containers in a timely fashion. Okay, I guess.
Patching is the answer, right? Once again.
Yeah, once again, yes, patching. Okay, if you remember, we said one thing. Okay, I want to touch one last thing because this is related to the state where we are living. Oh, you're in New Jersey, but I'm in New York.
Right,
Okay.
same thing.
Okay, so here, so this is interesting.
I heard about this one too.
Okay.
Yep. The law department. Yeah, I heard about that one earlier today.
Yeah, law department. Well, I know it already yesterday, and so, but apparently in New York City, departments are being targeted in general, and this is what I believe now. I saw also a statement about the law department said they were able to defend the attack. The FBI is investigating, and then I heard something else that there's some politics around there. So I don't know exactly where those are, and this is from inside information a little bit, but I don't know what's going on there. So I believe that this is something, and then China is behind this attack. They believe they are coming from China, and again, who knows? And they say here, so let me read you a little bit description. So China's government exploited a Pulse secure zero-day vulnerability to gain access to New York City's MTA computer system earlier this spring. A forensic investigation revealed that the intruders attempted to remove evidence of their files into the network, which raises the possibility that there have been system breaches that MTA has not discovered. This is a key.
Mm-hmm.
So they are probably have an active persistent threat over there, APT, that it's still there on the network. And I'm sure the MTA, New York City, all the departments, somehow they are connected somehow to each other. So
I know some of the guys that work over MTA. Doesn't surprise me.
Okay, we'll leave it with that, and I think any additional comment is not going to be necessary in this case. And I prefer not to say anything. So with that, we end our session. I mean, I have a few other pages here, but I have a hard stop. So we are going to finish this episode 20. Yeah, but you need to prepare something for tomorrow, Mr.
I have a couple of things tomorrow. Well,
okay.
It depends on what you mean by prepare. If you just want me to talk about it, I can't. If you want PowerPoint, it may not be ready tomorrow.
No. Like what I did, have those and bring it a little bit. Maybe you can send it and then we can prep. I mean, you know what I mean. Okay, so we can finish what I have here, and then we can do yours. I don't know. So we'll see about the time. Okay, so thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Seth, for joining again. This is Yigal Behar from the Cybersecurity Insider. I thank you everybody for watching. And of course, I want to encourage you, please share, subscribe, and like our podcast. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow we'll do a live session. We're going to stream directly to YouTube. What do you say? Would you like to do that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so go live tomorrow. Okay, guys, thank you. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Everybody stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Right. Take care.